Welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program. I'm Kelsey Kiesling.
And I'm Kendra Cook. The Southwest TV Translator Association underwrites the news, and Dolores County Broadcasting Network provides the support for DCTV.
Here at the News at Noon show, we present news we hope you find interesting and report on local issues and events. Give us a call with news tips or topics you'd like to see covered. The number is 677-4119.
We appreciate that you're watching DCTV. Today's show is live Wednesday at noon and usually rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m. and re-aired on Saturday at noon, 2:30 and 8.
Today is January 25th, 2017. Now here's the news. According to the Cortez Journal, a home explosion Monday in Rico killed a resident inside, according to fire officials. The explosion occurred about 4:30 p.m. on Piedmont Street at the north end of town, said Dolores Fire Chief Mike Zion. Officials suspect a propane leak caused the violent explosion. The home was leveled, Zion said. Doors were blown 100 yards away. The victim's name has not been released. She was located after a 3-hour search, Zion said, but could not be revived. 2 other residents were not home at the time of the explosion. Rico, Dolores, and Cortez Fire District and medic crews responded to the scene. Lewis and Pleasant View fire crews and the Dolores-based Canine Search and Rescue were en route when turned back after the victim was found. Zion said there was no fire after the explosion and no other properties were affected. Heavy snowfall in Rico and whiteout conditions on Colorado Highway 145 made travel to the scene difficult. Fire officials urged homeowners to check propane lines and heating systems and install carbon monoxide detectors in their homes.
Reported in the Cortez Journal, President Donald Trump has narrowed his choice to fill the Supreme Court vacancy to 3 judges and said he expects to make his decision in the coming days. The leading contenders, who all have met with Trump, are William Pryor, Neil Gorsuch, and Thomas Hardiman. Pryor, 54, is an Alabama-based judge on the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. Gorsuch, 49, is on the Denver-based 10th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, and Hardiman, 51, is based in Pittsburgh for the 3rd U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. All 3 were nominated by President George W. Bush for their current posts. Trump has promised to seek someone in the mold of a conservative icon, Antonin Scalia, who died nearly a year ago after serving on the Supreme Court for more than 29 years. Trump met Tuesday with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Senate Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer, Senator Chuck Grassley, and Senator Dianne Feinstein to discuss the court vacancy. Grassley said in a statement that the meeting was productive and a step in the right direction. Trump said he plans to announce his choice next week. Conservatives said the contenders all share Scalia's commitment to the text and meaning of the Constitution. These are not stealth candidates. Their records are there for everyone to see and to understand. Their judicial philosophy is well within the mainstream of American legal thought, said Leonard Leo, a conservative lawyer who has been advising Trump on the filling of the vacancy. Gorsuch is the closest on Trump's list to a Washington insider. The son of former EPA Administrator Ann Gorsuch, educated in the Ivy League and at Oxford, law clerk to Justice Anthony Kennedy, and Bush-era Justice Department official. His opinions and outside writings, praised for their clear, colloquial style, include a call for courts to second-guess government regulations, defense of religious freedom, and skepticism towards law enforcement. He has contended that courts give too much deference in government to government agencies' interpretations of statutes. He sided with groups that held religious objections to the Obama administration's requirements that employers provide health insurance that includes contraception. Trump praised the candidates on his roster after signing several executive actions on Tuesday in the Oval Office. "We have outstanding candidates," the president said, "and will pick a truly great Supreme Court justice." He said he would be making a decision this week and announcing it next week.
According to the Durango Herald, a twin-engine turboprop airplane slid off the side of the runway at the Durango-La Plata County Airport shortly after 7 p.m. Monday, closing the strip to arriving and departing aircraft likely until yesterday morning. 2 men were aboard the cargo flight, a contracted crew for United Parcel Service, and they were uninjured. Interim Aviation Director Tony Vicari said he did not have their names. Vicari cautioned against speculating about what caused the plane to slide off the runway. However, the airport was reporting 1/8 of an inch of snow on the runway when the incident happened about 7:03 p.m. It would be easy to say it was the weather, the snow, but I don't know that, and you don't know that. It is up to the FAA to determine the cause, Vicari said. The plane, a Beechcraft C-99, is sitting about 50 feet off the east side of the runway, and on Monday night, airport crews were in the process of determining how best to clear the disabled craft. The Federal Aviation Administration has been contacted, and the agency gave its approval to clear the craft, Vicari said. To my knowledge, the plane did not leave the ground, he said. The airport did not have an estimate on how long the airport would be closed, but Vicari expected the closure to extend through Monday night.
From the Durango Herald, frustrated that Republican U.S. Senator Cory Gardner has ignored countless calls, more than 50 people converged on his Durango office Tuesday in an attempt to elicit a response from their elected official. Since the election and subsequent inauguration of President Donald Trump, many of those in attendance Tuesday have called their locally elected officials to express a range of concerns. Most people standing outside Gardner's office near Office Depot said such things as Trump's nominees for key cabinet positions, environmental policies, and basic human rights have prompted them to call or write at least once a week. All said only Gardner has failed to respond in any meaningful way, in contrast to Congressman Scott Tipton, a Republican, and Senator Michael Bennet, a Democrat, and that attempts to contact a representative in the Durango office have continually been unsuccessful. Alex Siciliano, a Washington, D.C. spokesman for Gardner, said since January 1st, the senator's office has received a large volume of emails and phone calls. He has responded to more than 25,000 letters and fielded thousands of phone calls. Nothing is more important to Senator Gardner than providing the best constituent service possible to all Coloradans, Siciliano wrote in an emailed response. We continue to receive a large volume of calls from out-of-state special interests, many of them from New York and California. Our office will continue to prioritize responses to Coloradans in a timely fashion. The Durango Herald on Tuesday called all of Gardner's 8 offices in Colorado as well as the Washington, D.C. headquarters. In Durango, the line continues to ring with no voicemail. In Denver, multiple calls throughout the day were met with a busy signal. At Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, Greeley, and Washington, D.C., a voicemail was left on the general lines with no return call as of Tuesday. And at Grand Junction, Pueblo, and Yuma, a representative answered the line and referred the Herald to Gardner's press contacts who returned a call. Gardner defeated incumbent Democratic Senator Mark Udall in 2014 by about 49,700 votes. On Friday, Colorado's junior senator sat in the VIP section while Trump was inaugurated in Washington, D.C., saying in a prepared statement later that America's best days are ahead. Hope for the future is always a good thing to have.
According to the Durango Herald, legislation governing the unlawful advertising of marijuana is one step closer in Colorado. Senate Bill 15, which requires anyone advertising the sale of marijuana products in Colorado to be licensed, clearing its second reading in the Senate and was unanimously approved. If adopted, this bill will make the unlawful advertisement of marijuana sales a drug misdemeanor. The primary sponsor of this bill, Senator Irene Aguilar, a Democrat of Denver, said it is geared toward curbing advertising through social media platforms such as Craigslist. We are trying to model for the nation how you would responsibly implement legal marijuana, and unfortunately these efforts by people to sell drugs illegally on the internet undermine those efforts, Aguilar said. To highlight these efforts, Aguilar presented a document to the Senate showing that on August 15, 2016, more than 600 ads for marijuana were posted to Craigslist in the Denver area alone. It is a serious problem, said Senator Bob Gardner, Republican of Colorado Springs. We're talking about the fact that we have people advertising for the sale of marijuana that are not licensed to sell marijuana. That's called drug dealing, frankly. SB 15 bill will have a final reading and vote by the Senate before being sent to the House of Representatives. And now let's take a look at the weather.
The National Weather Service headlines that scattered snow showers linger along the divide through midweek, becoming drier and cooler by the weekend. Generally light scattered snowfall will continue tonight, with the northern and central mountains continuing to be favored. Some showers will persist Wednesday afternoon as a weak disturbance moves through, and again on Thursday. Coverage of showers will decrease each afternoon. Travel impacts are expected to continue across areas of eastern Utah and western Colorado through Wednesday. Please check the latest forecast for any updates. Also remember to check UDOT and CDOT's web pages for current road conditions before traveling during this period of inclement weather. You can also call 511 for the latest travel information too. Drier, cooler weather is on tap for the weekend as a ridge of high pressure builds across the region. The Four Corners area is not under any watches or warnings, though a winter weather advisory is still in place in the mountains around Telluride. Nationally, the weather continues to be disruptive all across the country. The weather patterns moving to our area may remain to our north for the better part of the week as the heavy rains and snow push through across Northern California, Washington, and Oregon. Right now, the low pressure without moisture will result in anticipated colder temperatures to remain in place. And for the local DCTV 5-day forecast, you can see those low temperatures remaining in the single digits until the weekend, when our highs in the upper 20s will break above freezing Saturday and Sunday, bringing up our single-digit lows into the teens and possible lower 20s. The roads are still mostly ice-packed and may remain so for the next several days, so again, be careful if you're driving. Maybe this is a good time to keep warm by the fireplace if you don't have to go outside. Now let's go back to the news.
Reported by the Durango Herald, a bill that would allow school district employees to carry firearms on campus was approved Tuesday by the Colorado Senate State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee. The 3-2 vote for Senate Bill 5 was along party lines, with both Democrats on the committee voting no. It goes to the Senate floor for a second reading in the coming week. This vote was counter to most of the testimony during a public hearing. Of 27 people who spoke, 17 were against it, 8 were for it, and 2 were listed as neutral or having questions. Among the opponents were representatives from public interest organization like Ken Toltz, founder of Safe Campus Colorado. Toltz said the bill was another attempt to force guns into public schools. This year, the sponsors came up with a slightly new twist for the same old bad idea, he said. He said SB 5 represents a dangerous experiment in school security and noted the lack of elected school officials to support the bill on Tuesday.
Here's an interesting report via Vape magazine from thedailycaller.com. Officials at the National Park Service, or NPS, are proposing a ban on all electronic cigarette devices throughout the U.S., claiming that the vapor exhaled by users is still potentially dangerous to bystanders. The push for a ban reflects the U.S. Surgeon General and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, who warn e-cigarettes are a major public health risk. The officials from the NPS want to amend their definition of smoking, where it concerns prohibited behaviors on NPS properties. NPS rules covering smoking have not been changed since 1983, when park superintendents were given the authority to institute partial or full bans on smoking in parks. Officials at the NPS say the potential adverse health impacts of e-cigarettes, recently chronicled by the CDC, and reports of exploding batteries guided them towards proposing the ban. The proposal states that acting out of an abundance of caution in light of the scientific findings and uncertainty to date, and in the interest of equity, the purpose of this proposed rule is to afford all NPS employees and park visitors the same protections from exposure to nicotine and other harmful substances that may be found in ENDS, or electronic nicotine delivery system, vapor. Non-smokers are exposed to nicotine and other potentially harmful components of ENDS vapor at higher than background levels when passively exposed to secondhand vapor.
According to the Cortez Journal, managers of Groundhog and Narragansett reservoirs are considering controlling boat access to prevent contamination of the troublesome quagga and zebra mussels. The lakes are owned by the Montezuma Valley Irrigation Company and store water for delivery to area farms and ranches, but they are also popular for recreational boating and fishing. The concern is that the invasive mussels species could enter the lake from infected boats, causing damage to critical irrigation infrastructure. We're looking at different options to keep the mussel out of the system, said Montezuma Valley Board President Gerald Koppenhofer. Once they get in there, you can't get rid of them, and your yearly maintenance costs go way, way up. The non-native mussels attach in layers to pipelines, gates, and dam structures, clogging the system. They are difficult to remove, have no predator, and negatively impact the sport fishery. Boat inspections at both lakes is the preferred solution, along with more educational signs on preventative measures. However, state and local funding for boat inspections is not available at this time, officials said. Without some sort of boat inspection program, lake officials said banning boats from both lakes may be considered. Bonnie Candelaria, manager of the Groundhog Lake campground, said she understands the concern of mussel contamination, but a boat ban would be drastic. It would kill my business, she said. I don't think groundhog is that high of a risk for the mussel. Boating and fishing on the lake is very popular in the summer, Candelaria said. Hunting is popular too.
In today's High Country happenings, emergency response personnel from across the area gathered January 18th for a preparedness exercise for the dam at Jackson Gulch Reservoir. Local representatives were present from the Mancos Water Conservancy District, the Montezuma County Sheriff's Office, the Mancos Marshal's Office, and other state and federal departments. The Bureau of Reclamation put together a hypothetical emergency scenario at the dam. Those who attended worked through the scenario, practicing how they would communicate and respond to prepare for a real emergency. Montezuma County Emergency Manager Paul Holler said a similar meeting took place in November involving the McPhee Reservoir Dam. The purpose for the meetings is to keep everyone updated on how emergency responders would handle the situation and how they would communicate to get information out in an emergency. Another reminder that this Saturday, January 28th, there will be an open public forum on growing hemp at 1 p.m. at the Community Center in Dove Creek. Charles Littlejohn is coordinating the efforts of a cooperative called SWAP to assist area farmers in the knowledge about hemp, access to certified seeds, and the various permits and paperwork involved in the crop. Many valued speakers will be in attendance, and there's an anticipation of attendees coming from as far as Loveland to this event. Free and open to all the public, DCTV will be attending to bring you coverage next week. All of the happenings are posted on our Facebook page, DCTV News at Noon. We hope you'll check us out online. And coming soon, we'll also be streaming the news live to Facebook.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of January 16th through the 22nd. A deputy assisted a Rico resident with a civil issue. While on routine patrol, a deputy noticed a tractor trailer driving with its rear door open. The deputy made contact and the driver of the truck corrected the equipment. A motorist reported a vehicle that slid off Highway 145. Colorado State Patrol was already notified and CDOT was en route. Colorado State Patrol requested assistance on a traffic stop and motorist assist on Highway 491. A deputy assisted a town resident whose vehicle slid off the road in town. A Dolores County deputy, along with officers from San Miguel County, responded to a domestic disturbance in Rico and arrested one female on charges of harassment, criminal mischief, and domestic violence. That's it for this week's Roundup. Stay tuned for continuing updates. Thanks for tuning in. A reminder that this program is aired live at noon Monday through Wednesday, then rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m., and again aired Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the same order at noon, 2:30, and 8 p.m. each day, respectively.
And check us out on Facebook and the YouTube replays. Please like us there, join the local conversation, and share it with a friend.
For Kendra Cook and everyone at DCTV with the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.